We're going to talk about what has happened in Ukraine on this day of the Russian invasion. We'll examine the actions and the strategies, both military and political. Now, if this is your first time watching, my name is Darren Gertis. I'm a professor who's built multiple leadership programs at Charleston Southern University. So we'll also view these events through the lens of leadership. And I also wrote a book about Zelensky called I Need Ammunition, Not a Ride, and you can find it on Amazon. Okay, it's day 103, and still Severodonetsk is the hotspot. The head of the Luhansk Oblast Military Administration, his name is Serhiy Haidai, claimed that Russian General Demikko, I can't pronounce, in the last one I was saying I can't pronounce Lithuanian names either. I can't pronounce Russian names either. Mikov, the Mikov was ordered to, if you know how to pronounce it, tell me how to pronounce it, was ordered to capture Severodonetsk by June 10th. Now, I don't know if he's making that up or if that's true, but because of that date, he says like they're hurrying up and, on a hurry up offense trying to capture the city. Ukrainian forces cleared half the city, but he cautioned the Russians may throw in all the reserves. And I think the city is going to go back and forth quite a few times before this is over. The UK Defense Secretary Ben Wallace announced that Britain will be sending M270 rocket launchers that can strike upwards of 50 miles. Now, that's huge. That's huge for a couple of reasons. One, it's more rocket launchers, but they're actually better rocket launchers than the US HIMARS. The HIMARS can shoot a rocket about 40 miles. The M270s can shoot at about 50 miles, and that's really important because if whatever the Russians have is about equivalent to the HIMARS, they can get things about 40 miles. If you can get it longer, you have an advantage now, and that's really good. But the first difficulty here that they have is actually obtaining the weapons. So that's getting the agreement. Okay, we will send you the weapons. Second difficulty is actually getting them to the front. And so what the Russians have done is like try to take out railroads around Lviv and other places to make sure that it couldn't get into the country. But even then, once they get the rockets here, they have to get trained on them. I was reading a New York Times article about this for today, and yeah, I mean, they're like looking up, trying to translate on Google Translate how this works, and unless you get really proper training, you won't know how to use the weapon right. And proper training takes time. One soldier explained, "quote It's like being given an iPhone 13 and only being able to make phone calls." So they really need to learn how to do this right. On television, the mayor of Melitopol said that the Russians didn't expect resistance. When they came in 3 months ago, they expected support among the population and government officials. Today, there's still a lot of resistance activity. This completely destabilizes the control system of the Russists, the Russian fascists and collaborators. Yeah, and again, these assumptions, we made the wrong assumptions in Iraq. We thought that we'd be hailed as liberators, and it didn't. There was a certain portion of the population that thought it that way. The Russians are doing making even more of a mistake because while they did have a sizable portion of the country that was kind of pro-Russia, mostly in the eastern regions, mostly in Donbass. They have now made some bad calculation by invading, bad calculation by destroying, because now they have generational hatred that's going to go on for a long, long time. For their part, the Russians are continuing to advance. Now, I don't think this is because of morale. I think they're just ordered into the wood chipper, and they keep advancing and they're moving up. And I would keep an eye on Izium. I would keep an eye on Lyman. I would look at Kherson in the next few days. I would keep an eye on Popasna from the north in Izium and Lyman. They're coming down, and from Popasna they're coming up, and that's going to be dangerous. Okay, last little bit to bolster the blockade of the Black Sea. Russia fortified Snake Island. Now you remember Snake Island. This was the go blank yourself on the second day of the war, and so Snake Island was captured, and the Russians have put an air defense system on Snake Island, according to the UK Ministry of Defense. Now, Snake Island is about 30, 40 miles off the coast, something like that. I don't remember exactly what the difference is. But yeah, that's a great place to fortify, to keep your ships further back so you don't get another Moskva attack if you're the Russians. But this military blockade is not just a military blockade, it's also an economic blockade, right? Ukrainians can't get their wheat out, and so there's a food crisis that's being manufactured by the Russians right now, this food crisis, in order to kind of stiff arm the rest of the world to help them have sanctions dropped, and that's pretty abysmal. European Council President Charles Michel accused Russia of weaponizing food at the UN. He said this quote, "Mr. Ambassador of the Russian Federation, let's be honest. The Kremlin is using food supplies as a stealth missile against developing countries. The dramatic questions of the Russian war are spilling over across the globe, and this is driving up food prices, pushing people into poverty, destabilizing entire regions. Russia is solely responsible for this food crisis." Now, in response, the UN ambassador, Vasily Nebizia, walked out of the Security Council meeting in protest. Um, I mean, I just don't understand. If you're Russia, I mean, you know that you're doing this, how you can not see this. But he walked out in protest. Another diplomatic snub was really amazing. Sergei Lavrov canceled a trip to Serbia because Bulgaria, Montenegro, and North Macedonia all denied him use of their airspace. So he couldn't travel there because they weren't going to allow him to travel, and that would provoke an international incident if he tried. Foreign Ministry spokesperson Maria Zakharova then fumed about this. Quote, "There will ultimately be no iron curtains from us. You don't have to worry. The EU is the one closing off Russia with a curtain." Well, okay, but you are invading your neighbor who did nothing to provoke you. So, I mean, let's get off your high horse. Zelensky congratulated journalists on their professional holiday. It was Journalism Day. I didn't know that such a thing existed. It's not like a paid day off, like a bank holiday or anything, but it's called Journalism Day. Zelensky mourned the loss of 32 journalists killed since the war began. And then he explained, and again, he's marshaling, just like the artists earlier, he's marshaling the forces of journalism, enlisting them into the cause. He said this: "Every modern person is well aware of how the media works. It is difficult to keep an eye on one topic for a long time, for the attention to Ukraine, to our struggle for freedom not to decrease. Everyone must continue to talk about what's happening. Please share information, support our needs." Now, he's absolutely right. Now, think about this. The news cycle is constantly shifting. And, you know, I saw this from RT. I watch RT. I read articles on TASS. I try to see things from the Russian perspective as well, not because I think that they're right. I think that it's propaganda, and I'm trying to understand what they're telling their people. Um, RT would soon report that, quote, "online attention to Ukraine war falls by 22 times since March." But they're not wrong. Like, I've watched this in a news cycle in American news where it's been crowded out by the conflict at the border, or the Supreme Court and abortion, or Johnny Depp and Amber Heard's trial. Like, I mean, so the media has a very short attention span, and one thing is crowded out by another, and that's the way that it works. So being aware of that is important, and Zelensky's aware of that, and he's doing everything he can to prevent that from becoming a problem. All right, that's it for day 103. Thanks for your time, and I hope I'll see you tomorrow on day 104. Hey, if this video was helpful, hit like to help others find it in YouTube's algorithm. Subscribe so that you can stay informed. And one more thing, if you are moved to contribute to the humanitarian aid for Ukraine, I have a link below for Samaritan's Purse. If you want to give, be sure to give only to reputable organizations. There's a lot of scammers out there. Thanks for your time.